Welcome back to the expansion draft speculation playlist. Today we're looking at San Jose, and they've got some issues. And this is why. So a few days ago, I did the GM video on who I felt were the 15 best GMs, and I didn't have Doug Wilson in the list, and he was on the list when I did just a top 10 last year. But I can't look at the contracts that he signed, look at the players that have been lost, and still say, well, this has been great so far. You get a player in Erik Karlsson that you ended up paying a pretty hefty price for because things kind of fall apart. You end up giving up a top 5 draft pick in the process and what's a pretty deep draft. And the contracts these guys are under leave San Jose in a position where they're likely going to protect 4 defensemen and 4 forwards. So let's get into that. And I know it may end up being 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, but I think it's probably 4 and 4. I want to talk about the defense first. You have to protect Karlsson, no movement clause. His contract's till 2027. You may be able to sit down with Erik Karlsson and say, look, waive your no movement clause, we'll throw you up there, and if Seattle takes you, we can't see it. Not with that contract, not with that amount of term left. And Seattle, Ron Francis, I can't see him taking that contract. I just can't see it. This is possible. And Marc-Edouard Vlasic, he has a no-movement clause on his contract. He has to be protected. His contract goes through 2026. And depending on which sites you peruse, if you look up the worst contracts, Marc-Edouard Vlasic's is seen as one of the worst contracts. Because players do tend to struggle when they get into their 30s, and even though defensemen play until later, usually they're older when they retire than forwards. Vlasic's effectiveness, I don't see him as a top 20 defenseman in the NHL anymore, and I did a few years ago. So I don't know if maybe they ask him to waive his no movement clause. Then you've got Brent Burns. Brent Burns is signed till 2025. I can't see them not protecting Brent Burns. He had a poor season. He did. But I can't see a situation where San Jose doesn't protect him, which leaves Šimek. And Šimek, I think, was arguably at times their best defenseman. And so I think you kind of have to protect all 4. So unless Vlasic or Karlsson, something happens to make them waive, and you protect more forwards, I don't know. But those 2 no movement clauses and just the amount of money being spent on that blue line is insane. Because when you look at the defensive numbers for San Jose, they're not great. And so if you're spending a ton of money on your blue line and the return isn't great, and your goaltender you're also spending a lot of money on, they're spending about $10 million on their goaltenders combined this year, under the cap. So Dubnyk and Jones combined are about a $10 million cap hit. So you have a choice, Carey Price or Jones and Dubnyk, right? So, and I know it's just Carey Price all by himself, but still, it's close. I can't see. Yeah. So, anyways, it kind of reminds me of when Jim Nill had Lettinen. Lettinen was having problems, and he goes, we'll bring in Niemi, another expensive goaltender too, and it just didn't work. And that's how I feel seeing Dubnyk and Jones. I chose to protect Jones, but Jones is under contract until. He is under contract until 2024. Dubnyk's UFA this coming year. It's possible they give Dubnyk a 1-year extension, and maybe they protect him and they expose Jones. It depends on how this all works out, who plays well and who doesn't. And I'm not sure. And I mean, they could just protect, I think Coronar is their number 3 on there that they could protect, and they could put both Jones and Dubnyk out there. Again, Jones under contract for more than $5 million until 2024. I can't see an expansion team taking him. I can't see them taking Dubnyk either. And when you look at the defensemen who would be exposed, you have Middleton and Carrick. I can't see Trevor Carrick being the pick for the Seattle Kraken either. So it's an interesting group if you're a San Jose fan. And then up front, because 4 defensemen have been protected, you protect Couture, Kane, Meyer, and Hertl. And yes, even though Couture is signed to a long-term extension for a long time, yeah, you still protect Couture. The one thing with Logan Couture is, of course, if he missed a bunch of time in the upcoming season, he could be exempt for having missed so much time. But I can't see that happening. So who's available? Well, here's the thing. Let's say you expose Burns or Carlson or Vlasic. Then you can protect. LeBanc would get protected. I think Latunov would get protected, and probably Gambrell, which would leave Donato out there. Marcus Sorensen, who I like. I kind of like Sorensen to Seattle. I think that would be a good pickup for them. And yeah, Nieto is a decent third/fourth line option. Sorensen, I still think, has at least some offensive upside that an expansion team could maybe get more from him than what San Jose is getting from him at this stage. It's an interesting group of forwards. I think it's pretty obvious they would take a forward. Yes, Kevin LeBanc would likely be the guy. Though his contract, his cap hit, I think it's $4.7 million, and it's a long-term contract. Obviously, if you're only going to protect 3 defensemen, if they put Šimek out here, then you protect LeBanc. I would think Latunov, because he's still young, and Gambrell. But it'd be interesting to see. And of course, Donato may get into that conversation if he has a bounce-back year. I like Ryan Donato. I hope the move to San Jose does him well, and we don't see him on the exposed list. I can't see Seattle picking up Donato, but crazy things could happen. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, because with San Jose, it is complicated. Those 2 no movement clauses and just how expensive that blue line is, it does make it difficult, because I think you do end up protecting 4 defensemen. And if Šimek is out here, then he's taken. I can't see Šimek not being the one taken by Seattle if he's available. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.